In this your image, your public relations program on TV, we are back again on the topic, the professionals and nation building. Of course, last week we had to highlight the role of the professionals and how they've been helping in some nations to grow, changing the dynamics, changing the structures, helping humanity, and even in capacity building. They are there to make things work. This week, I still have Dr. Kunle Ashimi. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, Dr. Kunle Ashimi is a risk management expert, health expert, medical doctor, and entrepreneur. He's also a man of many parts. He's a solution provider by all applications. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
I also have an author, entrepreneur, filmmaker, and a master storyteller in the person of Mathew Simpa. You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I guess your address is even telling a story.
Yes. I like to be natural, to be traditional. But I have a couple of this made for me. I don't like to wear all those Uyibo things. I'm a proper African person. If I can help it, sure.
Enhancing our culture.
Yes. I want everybody who sees me to know that, yes, this is an African.
Yeah. Is an African, and he promotes Africanness. Well, we want to go back into the issue. We have professionals who are the engine room to changing the world in any nation, to changing the world in any business, and also helping humanity, individuals, communities, to change and grow in tandem with what is expected in any nation. But we have a problem, and that problem is that while in some nations we are having a situation where people are moving from cities to urban areas, and some rural environments are already planned, provided with the provisions, amenities. But here in Nigeria, the people move ahead of infrastructures and even government presence. Why is it so in Nigeria? Dr. Ashimi.
Yes, thank you very much. One of the big issues here, you know, on the last week edition, I was talking about having people in government who are able to make use of our population figures, any form of statistics at all, to do planning. I related that to what is happening in the health sector, and the fact that we're not training enough doctors and nurses, building enough hospitals to be able to take care of them. By the time you look at our population and you see the way it is growing, what we would then know is that this increasing population would have to live somewhere. And so you have to make plans to plan new cities. But what we have in this country is that people by themselves will get them to go and open up new places, and before you realize it, the place becomes densely populated, no planning and everything, and then slums grow all over the place. Whereas in other countries, I would take example, in the 80s, when China started this one family, one child program. Despite the fact that the government was strict, they still made sure to make provision for, in case that program fails. And they were building houses, skyscrapers all over the place that would accommodate the outliers. And 30-something years later, when they were able to, those houses were not occupied. They had to pull them down because they were not used, meaning that they at least planned for such. I recall there was a time I visited a country somewhere out there, US in particular. On this side of the road, there was a development On the left-hand side, you will see trees and all that. And I thought that was a bush. 2 years later, when I went there, they had cut those trees. While I was thinking that a lot of construction was going on in there, and then they just cleared the frontage only to reveal a city that was going on there. So planning, very important. And if you look at the way Nigeria is it that we cannot fund this? No. The government over the years would have been able to fund mass housing programs. But what have we seen? One person will have used the money meant to build 100 houses to build one mansion for himself. And that, brings in the failure. Corruption, lack of planning, even in fact, understanding the statistics, the dynamics that follows it has been a major problem in this country. And that is where the problem is.
Well, when you look at the issue, well, we know that to people, Nigeria is developing. How will you account for our development? What are the new things that are happening that is making people to be happy into the current administration? What is happening?
Well, I wouldn't know about development. I think we are just starting to think about development. But when you look at it, while Dr. Ashimi was talking, something was going on in my mind. I just realized that what we should be talking about is how to bring back professionalism. Because it would appear to me that there is nothing like professionalism. Now, he was talking about planning and all those things. How do you plan? You have to have people who are ready to plan. You have to have people who want to plan. And a lot of those who are professionals, they have moved abroad. They have, jackpot like we usually say. So we have to begin to talk to ourselves. How do we bring about professionalism? We have to begin to talk to ourselves about the purpose of living, about the purpose of nationhood. We have to begin to tell ourselves that every individual has a part to play in nation building. That individuals have to also know that when the nation fails, they fail. But what we have now is people developing their immediate environments, their spaces, and leaving the general space undeveloped. Like Dr. Ashimi rightfully said, somebody will use what should be spent on 100 buildings to build a mansion for himself. Take Abeokuta, for example. You see big buildings all over the place, but no infrastructure, the roads are bad, the drainages are not there, and all those things. So we need to just, address basic values of life. We need to bring about, values that will make us advance as a people. Then we can begin to talk about development.
Well, we will begin to talk about development because whether we like it or not, even the exit of some of our professionals, I want to see it as a plus for Nigeria in a way. Don't you see a new lease of life, a new paradigm changing the course of Nigeria positively when we have all those experts coming back to Nigeria?
See, I think that those in government who are driving the narrative that professionals are coming back to this country are just not being truthful. What have you provided that will make the average professional to come back? I'll tell you for a fact that some of them who made the attempts ran back because of what they meet on ground. What it will cost to set up whatever business they have, who is listening to them, like I said, who values their services. On the other hand too, there is a bigger problem that we are not the elephant in the house. Every small business, in fact, electricity is not their biggest problem. It is manpower. Yeah. People who have no value. The moment you employ any young person now, it is how to steal that they are looking at. And they will run that business down and then start complaining that there are no jobs.
Yes.
If you make the mistake of opening a poultry and you are not there at least 18 hours a day by yourself, you'll be run down. So a lot of things around there. a lot of professionals, yes, I'm not saying every one of them, there are certain people, certain professions that their services are their talents are so scarce. They do well when they come because you don't have a choice. But unfortunately, majority will jakpada. And when they jakpada, they jakpa again. Because the environment is not conducive for them to come. And it becomes a cultural shock. When, for example, you open a business and some people come and tell you they are from local government, this, and then they bring say you are supposed to pay this permit, that permit, the next permit, and all of that. As they are going, another one come, they say the business premise, this, and you start asking yourself, how many of these things are you going to be? That's why a lot of people would welcome the tax reform and say, let's have just one that you're paying, and then everything is sorted, than every Tom, Dick and Harry coming all the time to disrupt your business. And the sad thing is that they come nonsense, threaten you and all those things. So a lot of people are fed up.
And the unfortunate thing is that it may not even go to the right.
Yes, it may not go into where it's supposed to go. So the truth of it is that a lot of people have made the attempt. A few, infinitesimal, very small amount have failed, has succeeded. Majority end up going back to where, and some will vow never in their life to step into this country, either because of government problems, the environment problem, the workers, and all of that. These are issues.
Which way forward?
Now, I watched a video. Somebody talked about how nations are built. Then he cited the example of a series of documentaries that I happen to have watched myself, The Men Who Built America. Now, the man concluded that it is not politicians who build societies, that it is usually the professionals, the business people and all those people. I think we should just tell ourselves the truth. Now, we're talking about people who ran away. Now, in my own estimation, most of those who ran away are the same people who created the problem in the first instance. Then they created problem and ran away from that problem. Imagine if Americans ran away from America, where would they run to? We all know that America was a big wilderness when the white man got there, right? Now, at a time, they were just concentrated in the east and then the south part. Later, they opened up the west. If you read the story of how they developed the West, how they built the West, you know that a nation requires resilience and inventiveness and innovation to be able to move forward. You need people who are professionals to stand and do their own bit. If they do their own bit, even if others are not doing it, later it may catch on. If the head of department, for example, is professional to the core, at the end of the day, the people who are behind him, they, try to follow. But the situation whereby the head of department himself is not professional, how do you expect the people following him or her to be professional? I think it's still basically that we don't even understand what it means to be professional. There are a few professionals out there, and I think that's the only problem. We need to bring professionalism.
Can you just allow me to address an issue?
Please do.
Now, you see, there are certain stimulus that you need for development. And I would address Mr. Simpa. The stimulus that we are getting from your sector, let me say it's your sector, is drawing us back to the Stone Age.
Yes.
The days before Oduduwa. When a lot of our movies are about rituals, money making, and all of those things. Now, one of the things that you would expect for some of this is that in driving that narrative, you are supposed to even teach a lesson. And somewhere in that narrative, you let people realize that if you do this, you end up this way. Some of them are not like that, or sometimes when they end that way, there is no seriousness attached to that end. You just look like one of the random. Okay? And This is a big problem, and it is driving a lot of our youth into believing that nonsense. And so they go cut people's heads, people's private parts, wanting to make money. Have you seen those people that are caught? Haga people. You know? Have you seen, like I said,
maybe they have some lords that are there.
Well, that is what people keep saying. But the point is that they've not been able to point to one. So that is one. If you watch some of these foreign movies, particularly the American and European movies, you just see that somebody conceptualize and say that in this movie, somebody is able to fly by wearing one thing.
Yes.
Okay? That pack is just being invented now. But somebody conceptualized it in a movie 20, 30, 40 years ago. And the moment, if you can think it, you can achieve it. Yeah. So up there, somebody else is thinking it, somebody else is looking at, but this thing should be possible.
Actualizing it.
Yes, they've seen flying cars in movies, isn't it? You've seen laser guns in movies. Somebody conceptualized it. I'm sorry, sir. Why, you see, we must stimulate our people to, develop. And again, lastly, I am sorry to address this. Our religious organizations are not helping. I know religion is something that, we're always, very tight about. I am not addressing any particular religion. I am saying that let us focus on building values, morals, and stimulating people to grow, knowing fully well that they need to work to be able to be rich. The average young person now tells you, I want to be rich. Without working. So that's saying, yes, because somewhere, somehow, somebody has said, go and prosper.
Not go and walk. Now, what I wanted to say is this. Now, to what he said, I read sometimes, long time ago, that in the U.S., when the Department of Defense want to achieve something, for example, maybe they wanted to achieve this phone.
Yes.
They would tell movie makers to do a movie in which films are used. And then once they do that movie, they now go and watch that movie, study how it is used in that movie, and then they come up with their inventions. They've used it to achieve a lot of things. I remember while growing up that while watching Space 1999, they will walk to a door will open. Now, you need stimulus. But then, you will need stimulus too. If it is not in you, when the stimulus comes, you are not likely to be able to do anything with it. Yes. For example, I have a book that I wrote. I call it the Ark Protocol. I based it on the story of Noah. So I see a leader who is trying to move his people away from the usual way of doing things. He looks to the future. He's not thinking of the present. And
way forward. What should government be doing? What should individuals be doing? What should corporate citizens be doing?
Maybe I start now. One of the ways that government can stimulate professionalism sometimes is, you put out a competition, for example. It may not be directly. See, a lot of our young people, those who are tech savvy, the basic problem, because I've mentored some, you see, they like just developing things. It comes to their mind, let me do this app, let me do that app. But they are not particularly solving any problem. But when you throw a problem at them and say, solve this one, okay, for example, you say, there is this pothole there. How would you make sure that everybody sees it even in the night? We're not even talking of coming to block it. And then they start then you start reasoning around it and you find solution. If they are not going to think of it themselves, stimulate them. And that stimulation should come with something that they can take away for the time spent. But for government is to say that, look, this, we want to build a bridge here, bring up designs. At the end of the day, somebody wins the competition and then the bridge is built. Okay, is it a technological development? Okay, we want to, let me just say, for example, Nigeria wants to start building flying cars. Okay, and then you throw it out there and say you can form yourself into groups And along the line, when they get to a particular stage, you start supporting them financially. You know, and all of that stimulate these people. Now, young youth, yes, they are lazy because they are not stimulated. In terms of this area, we have Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Education. Now, a young man just won the $1 million prize, Abi, the guy from Ogun State.
On the teaching.
You see, he didn't win it because he's a teacher. He won it because he was innovative. And that innovation has crossed the seas. He's doing
the boundaries.
He's crossed the boundaries.
Both of you are into capacity building and then mentorship. Will you say that we are doing enough in helping the youth to improving their mental capacity and then, in fact, innovative capacity?
I don't think we are doing enough, and it still boils down to what the point I've been trying to make, that we need to address basic issues. Like everything should start from the home. Now, in an average home, I don't know how many people have experienced this, that you see that there are things that need to be done in the home. Until you tell the children, do this, do that, or why didn't you do this, they are not likely to do them. But if we train them to be able to think solution, to be able to be proactive all the time, by the time they go out there, they go to school, they also advance on this knowledge, then they come to the society, they work the same way. But when in the home, everything is, piggledy, upside down, and nobody even thinks of doing anything about it until maybe the father, who has his mind in the right place, says, why is this thing not done? And then people begin to scramble about and begin to do it. It goes to affect the society too. So I don't think we are doing enough. I think we need to do more in order to be able to bring about the kind of society we want.
Well, you have said it, we need to do more, and that says that we need to help innovation and creativity. We need to build human capacities. We also need to encourage our youths and probably empower them to grow and change the dynamics. Of course, the youth are the future of any nation, so they need mentorship, they need support. But next week, I have to thank Dr. Kunle Ashimi for being with us. Very resourceful. I also like to appreciate Mathew Simpa for also contributing generously on this topic. See you next week. Until we have you once again, I want to thank you so much for coming. This where we have to take a break. See you next week for another topic. It is your image, and you are calling me ANCHOR-AKIN OKUDERO. Bye.